Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Tales with TR episode 226A. I'm your host, Terry Ryan Jr., and it's good to be with you guys. Um, I'm sure a lot of you know that a good friend of mine and a big part of the how do I say the hockey and music culture for sure here in Newfoundland and beyond has been shaken by our good friend Chris Ryan, a musician, a hockey player, just all around good guy. And a big part of when I say culture of downtown St. John's, those who have been here know there's a vibe, right? There's a big arts community, and CR knew everybody in it and was also part of it. And he was a great, I say up and coming musician, but more than up and coming. Chris has some awesome tunes. My favorite is Prairie Girl, Lucky Heart, another one I mean, he has a lot of tunes, but those were first. Those were on his first album. And we have all kinds of stories. I'm going to dedicate my next week's podcast. I got to organize my thoughts because there's a lot to take in. Chris was everywhere. He was omnipresent. It seemed. Those of you that followed when I used to go to Toronto at the Summit of Arts, they called it hockey tournament. You had to be involved in the arts community. We would bring a team at first, the Republic of Doyle, when the show was going, and my buddies would come with me, and one of them being Chris. Well, Francis Mooney every year, a good friend of mine. You might have heard me talk about him. Jim Cuddy, Alan Hawko, the Blackies. And I would have a friend or two, but Chris came every year, and it was great because Chris could, he's decent at hockey for a musician. I mean that because Chris played all the way up. Like he played a bit of junior hockey here, not a bit, a lot. They won it, I think, with Bell Island, and then he played in senior hockey. What's what I used to say? All Swedish, no Finnish. Looks like a pro skater. Wouldn't put it in the ocean from the wharf, but honestly, Chris became a hockey player very in passing at the end. I mean, he was so busy as a musician that he didn't get to skate as much as he always wanted. But I know Chris as I just know him as a friend, as everybody. He was hockey and lunch skates, and he always had a guitar. And then maybe 2010, 11, 12, around there, I knew he could play songs, but he started to write some songs and interpret songs, and then take songs that were already written, as it happens a lot here in Newfoundland. There's so much traditional music. Those who like Great Big Sea, for example, Lukey's Boat isn't their song. It's a tradition. No one knows who wrote it. It came from like the 1800s. It's a sea shanty. The night Patty Murphy died. I think there is a writer for that. I'm not sure. Anyway, a lot of now they're great songwriters. And Alan Doyle I don't know many in Newfoundland with a bigger catalog writing the song. I mean, Ron Hines, the man of 1,000 songs, I've talked about him. And I mean, there are lots of competitors, but Alan Doyle's a great songwriter. But a lot of the songs in Newfoundland culture and they're traditional, like the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson, they're great songwriters. Brian Wilson's one of the best ever. But Sloop John B is an old sea shanty. It's not their song right now. The arrangement on Sloop John B, I think, is fucking genius. So a lot of musicians here that, are well known for writing their own stuff will often put out a traditional song or their own interpretation. One of my favorites would be the Irish Descendants that put out Donovan's "Catch the Wind," and they made it their own Newfoundland kind of version. And they're traditional. It's just the Irish Descendants are a fantastic Newfoundland band that slightly predate Great Big Sea. It all became popular at the same time, but they're a little bit older and they're just awesome. But anyway, so CR would play with another Newfoundland band that just huge on the party scene, Kilkenny Crew, and he would play often on his own. And his most of his music success came on his own. I'm going to tell you some stories. Um, Chris had an album that just came out that the song I love. It's called That Christmas Card Feeling. But I'm going to tell you now, if you're from Newfoundland, here, Chris Ryan. So, secrets to go to church. I forgot about that. Uh, Edge of Town, Less of a Stranger, another good one. Last Forever, which is very quotable given the situation now. Anyway, CR is just, he was one of my real close, one of my best friends. A week didn't go by that we didn't in some way communicate. We didn't always see each other, but he often skated at like our noon hour skate. I just came from it. Um, I talk about seniors on Friday night. I don't know. CR must have been at, I don't know, 50 of those over the years. Like, he'd often take out his guitar and strum. I could never play, of course. I have a guitar there. I'm just too busy. But he would, he'd come in and write and screw around, and I might sing some lyrics to song I know. And I trust me, I had nothing to do with his songwriting, but I enjoyed being part of the process, just like watching him do it and hearing him do it. And in that, we would land on songs that we loved. I mean, it was only recently that I'm speaking of the Beach Boys that I found out that CR we never brought it up. I was like, what? You know these tunes? You realize? He goes, oh yeah, Pet Sounds is one of the best albums ever. I said, man, I didn't realize. I shouldn't be surprised. Anyway, one of those guys, just a good friend, and his exuberance for music, hockey, and just life in general, and friendship and family was unmatched in my peer group, and it's real tough. I've spent the last couple of days really trying to come to terms with it. Anybody that knows what it's like to lose someone this close, I've lost people. Only 3 or 4. They're tattooed on my back. You guys know about B.J. Young, right? And you know about Jonathan DeLille, Todd Clausen, and Mike Collins, and those guys passed away. When they're in their teens, 20s, early 30s. That of course is tragic. And Bird Dog and Todd Gillingham, and there's a lot that I mention on here, but I'm not saying it's any better. Bird was slightly older, and we knew that he was. We had time to absorb it, and he came and he kind of shared his last moments, being like his last years with us. We were very aware of everything. It was extremely tough, but the time to absorb it. We got to say goodbye. That sounds terrible and morbid, but we did. We got to say goodbye to Bird. Gilly had some troubles with substance abuse, and I also wish I had spoken to Gilly a little bit more before he passed. But Gilly wasn't himself the last couple of years, and the pressures of life, and he dealt with some death and divorce, and some people handle it better than others. And but Gilly was a great person. Again, though, I saw him unraveling, which wasn't good. I tried. We spoke. Um, and still it was very, very tragic. I didn't spend any less time crying because of Bird and Gilly. I just with Ciara, it just didn't seem like he just seemed to embody. He was almost like a living caricature. He just so much positivity. Now I'm not saying that he didn't have struggles, and we spoke about them. I mean, people have mental and adversity, and you face demons, you face your fears, you face anxiety, and I think we all get anxiety to a point, and people get depressed. But he saw us as peers that way. I mean, and we are like CR. What was CR? 39 or 40 is all, and but we have the same kind of attitude. Like a lot of people think that I never get anxiety or depression, right? Which couldn't be further from the truth. I just choose to deal with it with humor. That's why I've said in a dressing room, I'm better as assistant captain than captain. I think the captain always, whether they like it or not, there has to be the level of seriousness. Not that I'm not serious and want to win, but I was better in the loosey goosey kind of role. I was like a liaison between the captain and the players, the coach and the players. The captain is driving the bus a little bit more, but um, we saw ourselves that way. Same thing. If we were in a dressing room or yeah, say we were having in a dressing room, and it had nothing to do with music. Well, Sierra would often like break out he might even have his guitar. He might bring up a song like "The Gambler" that we all know that we could sing, and just to get a little bit of team bonding. And he was good at that, like bonding just at the blink of an eye. And I think I am a lot of the time. So we saw ourselves, and we love hockey, and we had the same sense of humor and the same musical tastes, even though I can't play an instrument very well. Um, and so CR, I would get up and play with him all the time, or sing with him. He'd play. We'd call ourselves the Divine Ryans on stage. Now, next podcast, I do have it's going to be a 20-minute story. I'll tell you about CR. I'm just waiting because today, and so listen, RIP CR, we're going to get back to him. But later today, I'm interviewing Al's brother from TSN Overdrive. So those of you know, those of you don't, it's going to be, I think, a bit of a treat. I think he's a real good, respectable, smart, intelligent sports mind with tremendous information. And they often, TSN Overdrive is one of the shows I consistently listen to from the sports world. Keeps me up to date with my own podcast at the Gregor Show. A lot of common denominators, and I love their segments. I mean, there's a few I listen to a lot, but that's definitely I don't miss really a minute of Overdrive if I can help it. And so Al's brother gets brought, and so his name is Michael DeStefano. They call him Al's brother. We'll get to the bottom of that. I'm foggy on the details. I know some of it, but why even tell you some of it when I'll just get the answer from the horse's mouth a little bit later. But anyway, yeah, so they call him Al's brother, and he's great on Overdrive. He hosted Leafs Lunch for a year or two. He's got a podcast now called Locked On Leafs. So I'm really looking forward to it. And, for me, I listen every day, so I enjoy radio personalities, media personalities. I always did. People often think I'm kidding when I say I wanted to meet Red Fisher in Montreal as much as I wanted to meet Guy Lafleur. And Red Fisher then treated me like shit. Didn't talk to me because he didn't speak to rookies. I went over and like, "Hey, Mr. Fisher, really nice to meet you." I put my hand out and he didn't shake it. He just looked by me like I wasn't even there. I'm sure he would have just walked into me. It's like I was a ghost. So what the fuck is this? And Mark Recchi said, "Yeah, he doesn't talk to rookies." And I said, "Well, he can go fuck himself." There you go. Red's dead. I'm not happy that he's dead. I was a fan, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I objectively thought that Red was an asshole. And he treated me like an asshole. But he was a big hockey mind, and I still really respect it. I still go back and read some Red Fisher stuff. I thought his articles were really unique, and he was he was just cynical enough and knowledgeable enough to be the perfect beat writer for the Canadiens. Why did I even talk about that? But anyway, really, I have nothing now against Red Fisher. Like I said, he's passed. I don't want to slander his memory. I think he was the best at what he did. I mean, I believe he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I'm not going to lie to you and say he didn't treat me like gum at the bottom of his shoe, and that I didn't say, well, he's an asshole, and I didn't keep that belief just because he died. I was an asshole might be a stretch. He lived a whole life. I mean, people loved him, and he seemed to get along. In my mind, he treated me like an asshole. I can say that. But I wish Red Fisher were still alive. But I doubly is wrong. To lose CR at this age, and he has nothing in common with Red Fisher. I can't remember why I brought that up. But it's devastating. Oh, God. Let's talk about Al's brother. What the fuck? Okay, so Al's brother, and he does a take. So he's part of Hayes and Bro, which features himself and Brian Hayes. And then you got Jeff O'Neill and Luke Wilson, great Canadian football player with Super Bowl ring with Seattle. Anyway, so they go back and forth, and they have like a fantasy football weekly kind of thing going on, a duel. And it's really entertaining and interesting. But the thing is, Al's brother gets, I think a lot of people, Michael DeStefano, think that because he's on that segment, they listen to it, that he might be more football than anything. But really, this guy seems to have a knowledge for a bunch of sports. and really specifics that it's hard to remember that many things. So I'd love to know his process. One sec now. There's someone mowing their lawn outside my window and building a deck. So I'm going to shut it. Just one sec. So anyway, I'm looking forward to having Al's brother on. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about CR. We had a great story from, about 12 or 13 years ago at the Horseshoe Tavern in Toronto. And it's one of my favorite stories. And I never, ever tell it. I'm sure I haven't told it on here. But CR was part of that, as he's been part of a lot of my memories. And we'll honor that soon. NHL started. I'm quite ready for it, to be honest. Some of you asked me about the exhibition season, and I do. I think it's a little bit long. I think in general the hockey season's long. I think the NHL now is 82 games. You'll never get the owners to go back on that. But and it's been 82 for a while. I think it was 84 for a couple of years in the 90s, and they might bring that back because they talked about shortening exhibition and adding a couple games. So I don't think you'll ever get less than 80 just in the regular season. Then you got exhibition and playoffs, and most hockey players that are playing professionally, not just the NHL, but professionally, but definitely the NHL is the most games. A lot of the minor leagues have like 70 to 80. When I was in the A, we had the same amount, 82. But this like exhibition seems so long and drawn out, and I don't know everywhere else, but in Canada we start talking about it in in August. I mean the year doesn't end till the late June. It was nearly July when the hockey season ended, right? Then the end of August, I mean not even mid-August. All the kids from around here, for example, they're gone to the Q or even pro. I mean I used to go to wherever the hell I was. I'd go in August just to start skating with the boys and everything. It's October and we just started last night, essentially. I mean, last week, I suppose, overseas, but last night. So it just feels long and drawn out. And y- now, of course, the next thing I'm looking forward to is, the Four Nations Cup and then the end of the season. Hockey playoffs are so great. But the regular season, while a lot of people kind of just as fans mail it in, you might have fantasy. I really enjoyed it lately. And it's because there's so many of these milestones. Like last year, we had two guys get 100 assists, which had only been done a couple times before. And it's then you get Matthews had 69 goals. He had 3 games left. He nearly to get 70. I mean, nearly did it. 70 goals now, right? 70 goals, which has only been done so much. And like I often say, Gretzky and Lemieux were so far ahead of the curve with all those points, but there were some rules that were different. You could hook, you can hold, and everything. But to slip 69 beyond NHL goalies today is fucking not an easy feat, man. It really isn't. Anyway, so that I like I said before, and my buddy Dave Roper, um, who worked with the Leafs for years, I watched them and I kind of cheered for them because of him. And I think that's I'm more of a casual fan. I mean, I want the Habs to do well. A, we got a Newfoundlander on the Habs. B, I'm the alumni, whether you like it or not. So I, when the Habs do well, we do well because we go up and we get tickets to games and everything else, and it's a real vibe. I love it, especially having a daughter that we go up to games and stuff. So and follow along. And so, I mean, I'd be lying, guys. I know that my situation didn't go well with the Habs, but it was really only Michelle Therrien that made me feel that way. So it was heartbreaking to me to ask for a trade and everything. I just didn't see myself advancing mentally, physically, or up the lineup with Michelle Therrien as coach. Really, that's the truth. But Michelle Therrien isn't there anymore, and he doesn't have any effect on my life. And I was ultra proud to be a Canadian. So I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't want to see the Habs do well, man. Imagine if the Habs make the final. And when they did make the final a couple of years ago, it was coronavirus, whatever. But that was a vibe. But I'd love to see them make the final. I would go up and partake in it. I'm a fan more than anything at this point that was lucky enough to wear their jersey for a few games. So and be part of it. And I do feel part of the culture, and I love that. And for that reason, I'm looking back at my career. I'm quite content that I'm happy. I'm healthy right now. Knock on wood. I'm getting to live out my dream anyway and be a hockey player on TV. It's just a little bit different as Ted Hitchcock. But like my dad often says, he's like, you played so recklessly. Who knows what would have happened, man? You might have broken your neck. You thought you had a concussion before, right? Try coming across the middle with Dion Phaneuf and then fighting Derek Bugard or somebody. And I would have done all of the above, right? I played recklessly. And like my dad also says, he's like, some of your friends are 6 feet under, and now another one in Chris Ryan. Um, and be proud that you played in the NHL and go from there. And I really can be. So my allegiance tends to be with the Habs. I love a good story, and I love there are a lot of good stories. I'm intrigued by a lot of players. Connor Bedard, is he going to be generational? I don't know. He certainly was in junior. We got McDavid. Crosby's still playing. Draisaitl gets lost in the shuffle. He's like the Kucherov, even is like the Steve Yzerman of it. Like I remember Lemieux and Gretzky were so good they'd have like 100 more points than everybody. They'd have like 215 points, 199 points, and like Yzerman would have 130, which is fucking unreal. But it was like Steve Yzerman was. If those guys weren't playing, he would have been the biggest star of his generation. Unfortunately for him, they were. But that's kind of going on now. We got all kinds of like generational talent playing at the same time. And don't cast guys like Patrick Kane who aren't retired yet, right? There's something to be said. I just think we have this era now in hockey with the new teams, the new rules, the new buildings, podcasts that are becoming, like I mentioned, Overdrive, Spittin' Chicklets, uh, hi to the boys, but they've got they brought a lot of new fans while giving a lot of older fans an avenue to kind of follow because they have. And this podcast, I have a lot of players that used to play, so we often talk about eras that are in the past. Well, every era is, I suppose. But we talk about, some of the old school stuff and everything, and that's an avenue for. There's more avenues out there now if you're a fan. Is I guess what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what kind of fan. You could be a new age fan. You could be a traditional fan. There's something out there for you. And outside of all that, we've got such an exciting time. I love that, the vibe in, say, Seattle and uh, Las Vegas. I don't know about Utah yet. I'm sure it'll be a vibe there. I played in Utah though. Um, it was awesome. I don't know how they're going to handle the beer sales. Like people want to go to games and drink, and we weren't allowed to drink anywhere. I remember I had to get a pass, I had to get a certain card. I had to pay for it and get a pass to get into the bar past 10 at night. I'm guessing it's because of the religious element there. It certainly seemed like that, which is always hovering over you. Me not being religious, I was like, come on, man, give me a beer after a game. Yeah, it's not no reason to think that the rink won't sell out and be. I know it's going to be different vibe than Vegas. I just know it having played there. Unless you know what, I played there 20 fucking years ago. I went to a game there, Utah Grizzlies, maybe 10 or 12 years ago. Another one, but I haven't been there a lot, so maybe they're loose on the rules, and I'm not sure how they're going to handle it. But I remember for us, like every time, like a Canadian came to visit and watch, they were kind of disappointed because of the really tight rules surrounding the arena and drinking and cheering and all that stuff. But anyway, who knows? It's still exciting whether they fucking eat milk and fucking cookies. It's still exciting that there's a team in Utah, another huge part of Northwest USA. So anyway, I'm very excited. I love watching specific games now. We go overseas to play some games. Storylines are more prevalent because of social media. I hate on social media all the time on here, but there are definitely good elements. That's one. I can follow any team or player or media personality I want. But anyway, I got to take off. I'm looking at this, and I got to go pick up my daughter Penny Lane, and then I'm going to come back and interview Al's brother, otherwise known as Mike DiStefano. So thanks for listening, and I got some awesome guests coming up, guys. I really do. It's going to be an exciting few weeks, and we're out there. We're going to tour in November. Shoresy, follow my Instagram for more information. Yeah, we're going to be doing that real soon. And next weekend, being October 17th, 18th, I'll be back in Sudbury, not related to the Bulldogs. I'm going to play a charity hockey game with all kinds of NHL legends like Al Iafrate, Darcy Tucker, Shane Corson, Brian McGrattan, and more. Anyway, off to get Penny Lane. If you're downtown St. John's, you want to check out George Street, check out Trinity Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, Martini Bar, Greensleeves Pub, and of course, the Bull and Barrel. If you're going to go for a bite to eat, why not try out Loose Tie, Blue on Water, and Wedgwood Cafe on Elizabeth Avenue, who also do catering. You want to work out, strength, and balance for the body and mind. Ryan Power, Power Conditioning. Strength, balance, body, mind. Mr. Lube, 2 locations in Newfoundland and Labrador. One's on Kmart Road, one is on Topsail Road. Torbay Road, sorry. Live, laugh, lube. Pitbull pain relief that just don't quit. Go to pitbullpainrelief.com, see what all the fuss is about. Mugsy jeans, comfort, style, bring it on. Number one, my favorite jeans. And I'm not kidding you. Nor do they pay for this fucking ad, to be honest with you. I guess they did with hooking me up with so much free clothes, so many free gifts. I guess a gift would be free. Anyway, I fucking love it. And I said, boys, I'll give you a month on my podcast for being so nice to me. And I really mean it. They're the best to travel in. I've talked about it. They're unbelievable. Try out Mugsy jeans. It's like you're wearing pajamas. There you go. There's your ad, boys. And, of course, True Hockey, take what's yours. Rest in peace, Chris Ryan, my friend. I love you, brother. And we're going to celebrate this weekend your life with your friends and family. It hurts me to say that, but life goes on. We make sure that your memory is nothing of. We're going to tell stories about your legacy, and your memory lives on. Of course, it always will. We love you, Chris Ryan, friends and family of Chris Ryan. If you're listening, join us the next 4 days. Follow my Instagram, and there's going to be something each day in memoriam of our good friend Chris Ryan. Thanks for listening, folks. Be back in just a couple of days, a couple of hours, actually, with more Tales with TR.